Now for dependent and independent variables. Those words should look familiar, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
What are dependent and independent variables? And in trying to formulate your answer to that question, just think about what the words independent and dependent mean.
Would independent be when there's only like one variable in the term?
Not necessarily. What does it mean when you're independent? You're a loner. Thanks. Okay, you don't need any supports.
You're a loner.
You're a loner, according to Jasmine. By yourself.
You're a loner. I like to be a loner. It's okay.
Right? What other people do doesn't influence you as much, if at all. Maybe that's another way of putting it. Dependent means what? You rely on people. You need them. Okay? Are you dependent on somebody right now?
Yeah.
Okay? Thank them for it. A dependent variable is a variable whose value is dependent on the independent.
What?
What?
I'm not going to write this down. What?
Okay?
Is it?
So it's a variable whose value is dependent on the independent. Okay? Think about it like you have a... What's the ratio of men to female in here? Okay.
Like 3 to 1.
So let's say you have...
It's 4. It's 3.
4 of us.
Okay? So you have a man
2 to 1.
and a woman. How do you draw
How are you
women?
going to draw a woman?
Wow.
Doesn't have anything.
That is
Okay.
so
Oh, doesn't
bad.
have a shirt.
Oh my goodness.
Look at her hair, man.
There's a shirt, okay?
Well,
There's your shirt.
it's a life jacket.
Okay? So imagine you have like a boy and a girl, or a man and a woman in a relationship with each other. Okay? These guys are dating. Okay?
This.
There we go. Okay? So
It's domino attack.
the man is very, very dependent on the woman. Okay? He just like can't exist without her. He's calling her all the time. You're like, hey honey, how's it going? Are you watching The Bachelor again? Cause I'm the bachelor for you. Okay? He's just like, and she's like, seriously, can you just like leave me alone? I'm painting my toenails and I'm lighting candles and stuff. Just slow down. Okay, you get the idea?
That didn't seem suspicious.
Okay, so the man is very much dependent on the woman, but not the other way around. She's fine on her own, eating ice cream and watching Gilmore Girls, but he just can't function without her.
Poor guy.
Okay, so when you think about dependent variables and independent variables, think about it like that. Okay, an independent variable is an independent variable is one whose value is constructed by the context of the question or chosen by you. Okay?
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
How to write that in a one line.
Yeah.
I thought it was the opposite of the other one. So.
We'll just say not dependent on other factors in a relation. Maybe that's a good way of saying it.
I already wrote down the other one, though.
Okay, so example 1, we had this equation. It's usually easiest to determine dependent and independent variables in an equation. We had the equation d equals 2 times n. D represented the distance that the frog traveled, n represented the number of jumps that the frog made. Which is the independent and which is the dependent variable? Or maybe another way of saying it is, which variable depends on the value of the other one? D. Right? D would be the dependent variable in this case. Right? How far the frog travels depends on the number of jumps it makes. Okay, does that make sense?
Not really.
Not really?
I don't know.
How far the frog travels is dependent upon how many jumps he makes.
Yeah.
You can only know how far the frog has traveled if you know how many jumps he's made.
That's true.
So the value of D depends on the value of N. A really easy way of identifying independent and dependent variables in an equation especially is usually the dependent variable is by themselves. It's isolated. It'll be like the variable equals some kind of other mess.
But he needs somebody
Okay.
to be with him.
He's got a 1 with him, if you want.
The one.
Okay? So if you had an equation like this, y equals 3x minus 6, almost always y is the dependent variable, x is the independent.
So when is it different?
With y at x, usually never. Usually y is always the dependent and x is the independent. If you had something like this, 3a plus 4b equals 20, in that case it would be hard to identify the dependent and independent, especially if you don't have any context to that problem. Okay, so in this case it would be a little bit difficult. It would need to be associated with some kind of word problem or something like that. But in this case we don't have that. Usually in an equation, the variable that's solved for, the one that's by himself, he's the dependent variable.
Does the dependent only have a variable?
Not always, because you could have something like this. 6x minus 4y equals 20. This will be a straight line. You'll learn about this in the next chapter. But like I said before, y is usually the dependent variable. Okay? All you would have to do is just solve for y. Is my point clear? Okay, good. So in example 1 with Jorge, we already did that. What about money fundraised? What is the dependent variable and what is the independent variable? Let's call the amount fundraised F and the number of bars sold B. Which is independent and which is dependent?
B is independent, F is dependent.
B is independent, F is dependent. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
You're right, good. Okay, how much money I make depends on the amount of bars I sell, right? With a graph, dependent variables are always graphed on the y-axis. Independents are always graphed on the x-axis. Okay? And I just answered the question at the next page. Okay, so dependent goes on the y-axis, independent goes on the x-axis.